name is Francisco Ruiz. I'm originally from Chicago, born and raised. My parents are from Mexico, but I currently live in Atlanta and I work in public health. I'm definitely a mama's boy. And so then I remember my dad at that time was working, would get off at midnight. And so we were like downstairs and watching TV. She was watching some sort of telenovela or something. I forget what it was. I'm like, Mom, I gotta tell you something. A commercial came on. And she's like, Mijo, wait till the show's over. But I knew when the show was over, my dad was gonna be home. So I basically grabbed the remote control, shut it off, and she's like, yeah, sis, what are you doing? Like, what's happening? And so I told her, and I just completely I remember it just came out. I'm like, Mom, I'm gay. We talked and she's like, you know what, I've always known, I love you, you know, and she's like, as a mother, I was always concerned, not because maybe you were gay or anything, but if you were gay, what would happen to you and your safety, and just you see all these things on TV and in the news, and so that was my concern, not because I would love you less. Fast forward a few years, I finally came out to my dad. And also it was very nerve-wracking but very therapeutic. And you know, my dad and I I've always had a great relationship, but a lot of the relationship has been through my mother, as many Latina mothers, as Mexican mothers. You know, don't forget to call your dad. Here's your dad when I call home, and you know, passes the phone to him. My dad and I are very similar in that, like, it doesn't come to us to call each other. You know what I mean? When we are hanging out, we have a great time, we love each other. But it's always been like kind of a relationship facilitated through my mother. I knew ultimately my dad would love me, same story that I experienced that I had with my mother. But, you know, I felt like I was gonna let my dad down, you know, and so, because I was on a pedestal because of him and he was right there with me. And by me coming out to him was knocking him down the pedestal alongside. And so it was more about, like, I didn't want to hurt him in that way, if that makes sense. I was diagnosed last January. I've been working in this field for 17 years, right? So when I was diagnosed, I didn't tell anyone for 10 months. And this is, you know, and I go into the office, talk about how we need to address stigma, and lead a team of 8 people, like, hey, what are we gonna do with our partners? How are we gonna, like, mobilize folks? How are we gonna have people talk openly about HIV? And then here I am carrying the secret, right? And like, we've made so many great progress in terms of stigma. Here is someone who works in the field still struggling with it, you know, to disclose. And similar to coming out to my dad, I put a post on Facebook. Like, I didn't want to have conversations with every single person. And so it was my way to kind of like, hey, let's put this out there. And I did it the day before National Latino AIDS Awareness Day. I'm like, I'm just going to put this out there. And it's, you know, I had told my parents beforehand. I had told my sister and her family. And so they knew this was going to go out there. They weren't too excited about me posting it on social media because I have cousins and tios and everybody on there. But it was, I explained to them, and they ultimately were supportive. Like, this is part of my process to kind of like just be lighter with it and be able to move on and kind of continue with my health, and both physical and mental health. And so when I posted it, I got like overwhelming response, and from cousins, from family members, from friends.
It's very brave.
And it was one of those things where, like, I was carrying this shame, like, hey, you know better, you should do better. Part of it also is kind of similar to the story that I was saying about my father, about coming out to him and knocking him off the pedestal that we shared together. I also didn't want to be like, see, I knew this was going to happen. I didn't want for him to have to deal with like, this is what's going to happen to gay men. It was very humbling, the impact, because close to like over 30 people like sent me private messages. And one person who works in the field as well actually sent me a message and said, hey, listen, when I saw your post come up, like, I don't log onto Facebook that often. When I saw your post, I actually thought it was a private message. I was diagnosed 2 days ago. And he's like, you know, this thank you. And you know, then someone else told me that, you know, I've been carrying the secret with me for 2 years. I just called my mom. Like, all these really just amazing, humbling experiences. And I think, you know, that's what we need to do more, and just kind of share our story, our experiences.